If you've ever tried to force-feed your brain the endless Latin names and structural categories of the plant kingdom, you know it feels like trying to read a dictionary backward. It is a nightmare of rote memorization. But before we fix that, let's establish the absolute baseline. To even get into the Plant Kingdom Club, an organism has to meet 4 strict criteria. It must be multicellular, possess complex eukaryotic cells, make its own food through photosynthesis, and build its cell walls out of cellulose. Once you know the baseline, you can stop memorizing random lists. Plant classification is actually a chronological tech tree. It's a sequence of biological upgrades designed to conquer Earth step by step. Look at this branching path. The first evolutionary split happens right here. Plants that reproduce without flowers, the cryptogams, versus plants that upgraded to produce seeds, the phanerogams. We can map the exact sequence of this tech tree with a single phrase: Thota, Brio, Ter, Gym, Ang. That maps the 5 main groups in their exact order of appearance: Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms, and Angiosperms. Mastering this specific chronological sequence allows the evolutionary logic to do the heavy lifting for you. When you know the order of the upgrades, you can predict the correct answer on any competitive exam without guessing. The first stage of our tech tree starts entirely underwater. These are the algae, the evolutionary base models of the plant world. Because they float in a liquid environment, they don't need complex anatomy. Their body structure is called a thallus, a simple mass completely devoid of true roots, stems, or leaves. This diagram shows how we break them down into 3 specific classes, based entirely on their photosynthetic pigments. Green algae rely on chlorophyll A and B, brown algae utilize fucoxanthin, and red algae use phycoerythrin to capture light. These baseline models are perfectly adapted to lakes and oceans, but that exact specialization means they lack the biological hardware necessary to survive a single day on dry land. To push onto the continents, plants had to overcome the harsh, dry air. That environmental pressure forced the adaptations seen in the bryophytes. They survived on land, but they carried a major evolutionary flaw. Their reproduction system still relied entirely on swimming sperm, meaning they were chained to moisture. Because of this dual life, examiners consistently test them as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. In this group, the primary dominant stage of life is the gametophyte, which you see here clinging to the damp boundary between water and land. Moving further inland introduced a new enemy: gravity. Without a way to pull water upward from the soil, a plant couldn't grow tall. This triggered the development of the pteridophytes. Here is the critical plumbing upgrade. Pteridophytes developed the first true vascular tissue. By creating internal tubes to actively transport water and nutrients, they finally formed true roots, stems, and leaves. Possessing vascular tissue solved the gravity problem. It allowed the spore-producing sporophyte stage to take over as the dominant life cycle, letting plants build vertical architecture for the first time. Now plants had height and internal plumbing. The next hurdle was spreading their offspring across vast, unforgiving landscapes. This led to the gymnosperms. Curious, gymnosperms developed a new protection for their offspring: the seed. But as you can see in this pine cone, these woody plants produce naked seeds. They lack an outer fruit layer, leaving them completely reliant on the wind to carry their pollen. Relying on random gusts of wind is inefficient compared to the specialized strategy of the final group, the angiosperms. Angiosperms utilize a complex mechanism called double fertilization. This allows them to produce flowers to attract specific pollinators and then safely encase their seeds inside a thick, protective fruit layer. We divide these advanced plants into 2 architectural subclasses. Monocots feature a single seed leaf and parallel veins, while dicots have 2 seed leaves and a complex webbed vein network. Flowers and fruits are highly efficient biological machines. By outsourcing pollination to animals and wrapping their seeds in nutrient-rich transport vessels, angiosperms have successfully colonized almost every habitat, making up approximately 9 out of every 10 plant species alive today. When you map these upgrades, vascular tissue, seeds, and flowers, they form a clear, logical framework. Take a look at this data matrix. Notice the pattern. Vascular tissues appear at the pteridophyte stage. Seeds don't show up until gymnosperms. Flowers are exclusive to angiosperms. The check marks cascade sequentially down the timeline. Examiners know students try to memorize this grid randomly, so they build traps around these exact transition points. To bypass those traps, lock in these specific pairings. Bryophytes are the amphibians. Gymnosperms mean naked seeds. Angiosperms guarantee double fertilization. Because you understand the chronological timeline of when each trait evolved, you can solve complex classification questions through logic. Let's run a rapid-fire check. Algae equals thallus. Bryophyta equals water dependency. Pteridophyta introduces vascular plumbing. Gymnosperms deploy naked seeds. Angiosperms enclose them in flowers. Look at this typical exam question targeting environmental dependency. Amphibians of the plant kingdom. You already know the halfway point between water and land is the second stage of the sequence. The answer is B, Bryophyta. Here's another testing the armor upgrades. Naked seeds are found in... You know seeds appeared before fruits evolved. That isolates the gymnosperms, making B the correct choice. Understanding the underlying biological narrative turns the hardest exam questions into simple logic puzzles. Lock in this sequence, practice the patterns, and those points are yours.